to say, as Mr. President said during his New Year's address, you will see a lot of work this time because we now have the Sukuk and we have paid some monies to our contractors over the Christmas period and we continue to pay during this new year. So our contractors will have the opportunity to do more work now with money in their hand during the dry weather than later in the year when it's raining and then they get money. That's one. Two, and that will happen on 25 major roads within the A1 to A4 using the Sukuk. The A1 to A4 are the Lagos to Sokoto, Warri to Katsina, the Port Harcourt to Yobe, and the Calabar to Maiduguri roads. And in between, you have Enugu, Port Harcourt. In between, you have Calabar to Dupani. In between, you have Benin, Okene, Lokoja. In between, you have Jeba, Tegina, and all of those. Those are the roads that are covered by the Sukuk. You also have the local Weto Bridge, and so on and so forth. Work will go on there as soon as the contractors resume in January, and some of them have started coming back to work because they went on Christmas break. You will also see us on 44 roads, which were roads that largely caught the public attention as a result of either of rainfall, ecological damage during the last year, during the rains. We could not conclude the procurement, but we are almost done now. And again, we'll be able to arrest and attend to those places during the dry weather. So that is consistent with the plan to give Nigerians a better travel time, a better journey time experience, reduce cost of traveling, more pleasurable motoring.
And the President decided on January the 1st to devote almost the entire New Year address to Ministry of Works and your colleague at the Ministry of Transportation, between road, rails, and power. So that's quite a lot in what the President says in the address. So what's the strategy of your ministry to make this very ambitious program announced by the President happen on January 1st, 2018?
These are the details of what I've already given you. The main problem with the roads is funding them. They've been denied of funds. So we now have the Sukuk. The Ministry of Finance also released the 120 billion to us just before Christmas, so we are paying our contractors. So the more money they have, the more materials they can go and buy. So you are going to see activity not just on roads. The road activity starts from the quarries. You will see the mining industry busy. People mining sand, people mining rocks, people mining chipping sand, and all of that. So all of the money that comes from the construction industry actually first goes to the mining industry. That's where you buy materials, limestone, and all of the things you use, cement, everything. That's where it comes from. And the industries to make the cement for fabricating reinforcement. So the money that comes to this ministry that goes to the contractor is going straight to his supplier. I want how many tons of sand, I want how many tons of rocks, I want how many tons of chippings, I want so many bags of cement, and from there it's going, so first labor is going to drive those who are operating the quarries. So you see Ministry of Solid Minerals busy. Then from there, they're going to batching plants where they start assembling materials. It's labor and machines. You will see a demand now for machines, for diesel, for petrol, to run production machines that begin to cast concrete, cast things, transport things to site. That's how an economy works. And that's how Mr. President, in my view, was correct. Because economic issues are defined by the size and the quality of your infrastructure. So these monies are already in place, so it's going to happen. There's no miracle to this anymore. In the first quarter of the year to about half year, contractors have money to do some work. Hopefully, we will get more funding from the Ministry of Finance, and as we get it, we give it to those who own it. The workers, the artisans, the construction company, and you will see more road works happening.
On Apapa, which is one of the nasty roads in Lagos, if you want to put it that way, when will this happen? When will the conclusion, with the Dangote, with others who are working on it?
Well, we are hoping that we will receive the quotations from the Dangote Group. They said they were working on them just before the end.
They haven't submitted yet?
Not just before the end, because we had to produce a design first. So that design will inform how they price the quantities. A road doesn't happen simply because you say be and it shall be. That's creation. You need to measure, you need to lay out, you need to do soil tests because you want to build right so that when you build, it doesn't just suddenly collapse. You want to put piles where there should be piles, where the soil is tricky. So there has to be first a design. Then it is the design that informs costing. So we've handed over the design. They need to call their own cost consultants together too and provide the most efficient cost, because the project will be under public scrutiny even from the day when we announced it. So if your life is going to be under a microscope all through, you better make sure that your clothes are spick and span, and the integrity of that organization not being in doubt. So you expect that they will take their time to do what is right, and once that is done, they will do it. I think it is important also to reinforce the fact that that Apapa road has never been good, not for a decade. It has always been in one state of disrepair. And the reason is not necessarily because anybody is a bad person. The reason is that that is our major heavy ton haulage, and we chose to abandon the trains which were built with the port when Apapa port was built. And we went to tankers and trailers. So right now, the hope for what Dangote is going to do comes from what Governor Amici is doing as transport minister, trying to resuscitate the rail. If there was no rail, I will tell you that whatever we are going to do won't last his lifetime. But the hope that the rail is coming, and ultimately the heavy cargo will go well, means that when we do this, the people of Apapa will know, and all of the environs, that this is an enduring solution, because we will not have to put that kind of axle laid again onto a port road. All of the ports that I have been to, whether it is in Frankfurt or in Europe or whatever, or Jebel Ali and all of those, they don't do what we are doing. And when we started right. When the port was built in the 1900s, there was a rail track, and it's still there. For some reason, we abandoned it, and we started financing tankers. And that's the result.
Do you spend more time chasing power and works, and you do less in terms of housing nationally?
I think that the answer to your question certainly is no. But I think that with the public service experience that I have privilege to have, I am able to balance my time efficiently, because what I do in power is coordinate and meet with operators once a month, largely. And TCN, which has transmission, has an MD. I also have a PAMSEC. Then I have 2 ministers who work with me, 2 ministers of state. So I'm not alone. In spite of the fact that we are 3, people see only one, or choose to see only one. When perceptions are strong, it takes some time for reality to pierce through. But we are 3 here.
You were considered a very strong man in Lagos, and you are indeed a strong man. But how much would you be delivering under the National Housing Project?
Again, I think that the answer to the National Housing Project first is to say that this is the second time in the history of Nigeria that we're embarking on a National Housing Project. The last one was President Shagari's National Housing Project. And one of the things we found out was that that project would have been more successful, first, if some of its limitations had been taken on board and continued. One of its limitations was that the designs were not taking into consideration the diversity of the country. And so if you go to Numan Jalingo Road, you still see one of the buildings empty. It was an unacceptable design because the northern part of the country, we found out, they don't mind 1, 2, 3 bedroom houses. It doesn't matter to them. Not fundamentally. They don't mind the number of bedrooms. But they are particular about how it should be built. They want them in bungalows. And they have the land. And they want courtyards. It's a cultural thing. Down south, they don't mind to live in blocks of flats. So if you build the same thing for the same part, for different parts of the country, you will not have addressed the issue of acceptability. And when your product is not accepted, you can't sell it. So you will see today, sir, that there are empty houses in virtually, if not all of the states of the Federation. There's an empty house somewhere in every state. Have you asked yourself why that house is empty? I venture to say it is because it is not acceptable to the people in that community, or it is not affordable to them, or it actually fails both tests combined.